Hello everybody. So it is Thursday, the 2nd of January, 2025. Still have to remind myself of that. Anyway, I want to talk about the foundations of the world, and I want to talk about our divinity. And I want to start with Psalm 82, because that, to me, that is one of the most important passages in this book. And I want to show you how our foundations have gone completely skewed. So Psalm 82 says, God standeth in the congregation of the mighty, he judges amongst the gods, many. How long will ye judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked? Selah. Persons, they are persons, the wicked. Yeah, okay. Defend the poor and fatherless, do justice to the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy, rid them out of the hands of the wicked. They do not know, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. All of you are children of the Most High. I leave it at that. So we walk on in darkness. The foundations of the world are out of course. That does say out of course, doesn't it? Sorry. Of the earth are out of course, yes. Sorry. So, I don't think it says that we are the only foundation, because it says the foundations, plural. All the foundations. Again, there's a teaching that says there are 4 kingdoms here: the mineral, the vegetative, the animal, man. We are out of course. We are the ones that are walking into darkness. We are the ones that are completely going the wrong direction. But it affects all the other foundations. And I mean, just looking in this world, into the solid reality that it creates, obviously, what we are doing is affecting all the other levels. So all the foundations are out of course now, because of what we are doing. Now, I want to talk, next step is our divinity. Yeah? We are divine beings. Now, here's a bit that is Greg Braden is endlessly repeating at the moment. Yeah, put it into the mind of the people and make it a reality. Propaganda. And that is a definition of divinity. Where he says, the definition of divinity is our ability to exceed perceived limitations. That is our divinity. We can, to my mind, we can exceed our perceived limits. We can go beyond the material, which is our perceived limit, into the spiritual. That is a reality. That is part of our divinity. I would definitely say it is a part of our divinity. But it is not the foundation. Again, it is our foundation that is out of course, by which all the other foundations are being affected. And again, this book will clearly show you what the foundation of our divinity is. When it says, I think it's Genesis 3 verse 22, and that's the only time I actually know chapter and verse. I'm really not much good with that. Where it says, and the Lord God says, from the horse's mouth. And the Lord God said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. That is the foundation. That was our first step into divinity. We became as gods in that we knew good and bad. That knowledge is the foundation of our divinity. And everything else must come from there. You add on to that. So then again, Paul, with his description or his interpretation, the way he spin doctor, he's a real spin doctor, the way he spun that story, he took away our foundation in portraying this as a fall, as in we did something sinful and wicked and we fell into darkness. Yeah? Whereas here it says what Adam and Eve did, eating of the tree of knowledge, actually elevated them into the first state of divinity. And in whose book that is a fall, I don't know. Well, in Paul's book, obviously. That is not a fall. That is a step up, not down. But again, the way Paul portrayed it, it really took the foundation away from underneath our feet. The foundation of our divinity. That is it. We know good and bad. We know. We must stand in that truth. We don't. Because right now, yeah, and that is actually, the New Testament tells you shouldn't stand on that foundation. They deliberately say you should not stand on that foundation. Don't go by your own knowing. If God commands it, something out there commands it, you do it. And you do not judge. Judgment is whatever being out there that will tell you what is good and bad. Again, you're denying your own foundation. At that point, you are denying your own divinity. I know good and bad. I am the judge. And you're giving that away. Now, there's another bit. So we need to shift, and that is a perception of ourselves and what it is we're in. Yeah? So that is, again, shifting a perception of ourselves. We are divine being, and I'm really pleased that it have the correct foundation. The foundation of our divinity is that we know good and bad. If you add on to it that we can exceed perceived limits, yes. But that must be according to our foundation, our knowledge of good and bad. If you just say, we can exceed our limits, whatever way we want, there is no law, that you have no foundations, we will become even more destructive than we are now. If we do shift into this greater awareness of ourselves, still being led by some God out there, and His will must be done, I mean, we're that far in darkness, we will never see the light again. Right. Now, that's the perception of ourselves. We are the judges. That is our divinity. What is it we're in? What is God? That is the next thing that absolutely needs to shift. And that is the idea that God is actually a being. And I mean, in the book of the Revelation, when Jesus showed this New Jerusalem, that big cube in the sky, I mean, to me, that is clearly an alien craft. So we are talking about beings. Yeah, in that case, we are talking about beings. And then you are really in a position of you're praying to the aliens. That is what you're doing. That is what Jesus showed. That is the truth that He revealed. Yeah? But it creates, it is the thought of God as a being and the separation that creates all manners of problems. Again, something that Paul clearly taught. The kingdom is somewhere else. God is a being. We all must go there. Yeah? But I tell you the greatest problem that it creates. And that is, and you are set up for failure. If you are in that perception of God as a being somewhere else, you are set up for failure. And that is because of the commandment of, and listen to this, Hear, O Israel. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, with all thy soul, with all thy mind, with all thy strength. And this is the first commandment. And the second is like, namely this, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. There is no other commandment greater than these. Right, and here comes the problem. And where you will find yourself in the situation that Jesus thought he found himself in, that he had two masters. Yeah? Which is not the reality, or shouldn't be the reality, but it will lead you there. And that is if you are to love God with all your mind, with all your heart, with all your strength, with all your energy, whatever, your whole being, you must love God. And God is another being that is separated from you. Yeah? So if all your love, mind, heart, strength, everything is tied up in that love, and the heart is full, well then, unless you have got a second heart lying around somewhere, how can you love yourself or thy neighbor? If your entire heart is filled with the love for that being, it cannot work. And it will lead you exactly where Jesus thought he stood. There are two masters. Yeah, you serve one with all your heart, you have no more room for the others. So this separation thinking is setting you up for failure. You cannot fulfill both commandments. You can't. It's setting you up for failure. There is another, again, shifting our view of what God actually is. What it is we are in. What it is we are, what is our divinity, and what it is we are in. And that is, again, is another view. It's not new. It's extremely ancient. It actually precedes this thinking. This is where we veered off into the wrong direction. We left our foundations. The older thinking is the thinking of the all, the thinking of the Creator. By him everything is created, and without him nothing is created. He is all that exists. It is not a being. It is all beings, it is all created beings, it is the uncreated possibilities. And it is not a being itself, it cannot be known. In its fullness, it cannot be known. That was the ancient thinking. In which case, you are the creator, your neighbor is the creator. In loving your neighbor, you are loving the creator. In loving life, existence, you are loving the Creator. So then there is no more separation, and you can fulfill both commandments at the same time. Loving the Creator with all your heart and all your mind means loving yourself and loving your neighbor. There is no separation. And there is no separate being. It is the same thing. That is the only way that those two commandments can work simultaneously at the same time. As I said, if you have the idea of God as a being separate from yourself, it cannot work. And it is, again, what is bringing the lunacy into this world, and a lot of the brutality and violence into this world, perpetrated by religious zealots, religious fanatics, because exactly that is happening to them. Their heart is filled with the love for one being, and there is no more room for anything else. And they will do as they are commanded, or as they think they are commanded by that other being. And they will do things that are not human, again, not standing on our first Divinity foundation, we know good and bad. Again, they're suppressing that, it's out of the window. They've become programmed by something else, and they're mindless weapons of mass destruction. So this is where the shift needs to occur. How we see ourselves, how we see God. Now, I just got a message, been sent a video, and with the message of take people out of religion. Yeah, I'm sorry, what do you want me to do? It was a video and people were talking about, really getting out of it altogether. Like, this is mechanical. They were talking about chaos. Now, looking at humanity, I think you can safely use the word chaos. Yeah, but no, the universe is not chaos. There are laws. We know them. Laws of nature and laws of physics. Yeah, the cosmos is not a cosmic pinball machine where stars just fly any which way, whichever way they want. There is an order. So it's not chaos, it's not anarchy. There are laws that we need to operate within. And we need to know those laws, and we need to recognize those laws as greater as our own desire. We can't just go by our own desire. We create outcomes. And those outcomes are determined by the laws. And we cannot change them. Those laws are unchanging. Again, that is the Creator. But this whole idea of, you can just take them out of religion. I mean, what they said in those videos was actually true. Well, not that bad, but they pointed out discrepancies in the text, where it was historically incorrect, and other things that were just not right, actually, that it showed passages, things were happening that to a human mind were actually not right. There's some stuff in there that's mind-blowing, actually. Downright evil. And the fact that they pointed it out is good, because it rattles people's cages, and they should be rattled. But you cannot take just people by the hand and lead them out of religion. To think that is totally naive. And you really have not understood where this thing is actually working. This is spiritual. This is not a material problem. This is a spiritual problem. And again, going back to Psalm 82, what it actually says, listen to this. It says, they know not, neither will they understand. And here goes, it doesn't say they can't understand, because they can. This is not beyond the scope of a human being to understand this. You can. They will not. They refuse to understand. And that is actually what we're up against. They refuse to understand. But they say there's none so blind than those that refuse to see. And that's what they do. Because their entire existence is actually built on this thing. Their entire energy is entangled in that thing. Their life, their friendship groups, the way they think. For those up at the top, financially, yes. Their finances are definitely entangled in this thing. Yeah? And if you just pull this away, especially pull it away with nowhere else to go, you are creating an existential crisis, and they will fight you. They will absolutely fight you. And so what do? We have laws. We take over, we make laws, we close the churches, mosques, temples, we burn the books. It's another little favorite. Let's burn the books, all the powers and book. No, it's not. See, that's the problem. The power is not in the building. The power is not in the book. Yeah? The worst I can do with this is hit you over the head with it. As a physical object. It's inside of the people. It's in their subconscious. It is creating a structure in the subconscious, out of which they reason and then say, do, and act. And that is where the power is. that it's lodged in their subconscious. Actually, I heard a Jewish woman saying, oh, we are Jewish. That is not just a belief, that is in our DNA. Well, if that is true, you are in real trouble. Yeah? Let's go, it's just on the subconscious level, hopefully. But then you cannot just take them out of it. That there has to be a works. And we need to be awake. And we need to be aware. Because unconsciously we will think, say and do things that are deriving from that subconscious program. And we need to be aware of what it is we're saying and of what it is we're doing. We need to be awake. So the shift of perception of ourselves, of God himself, it's not a being, you're praying to the aliens, honest to God. So that shift needs to be there. But then we really have to entangle ourselves from that old thinking. And let's say we've been indoctrinated into this. The structure has been built in our subconscious. Well, for the Jews, 6,000 years plus. Christians, 2,000 years. I had meant to look up when the prophet was about it. It's over 1,000 years, I think. Still, that's many generations. Yeah? It is not a case of taking the people out of religion. It is a case of taking the religion from inside of the people. And that is probably something that will take generations. It could conceivably take generations. And it is that those that are aware now that will make the shift into the other thinking, into the other reality, because that is a completely different reality that you would be living in. It will take works. It will take being aware. It will take constantly correcting yourself if the wrong thing comes out of you because it's still coming from the wrong subconscious program. This is not straightforward. We are going up against spirit. Yeah, this is not a material battle. And spirit is powerful. The word is powerful. Yeah, it will take time. And we actually need a world in which we can actually say these things to each other without any fear of retribution. Not even that outside, that the environment is not even there in which we could practice that. So we have a monumental task in front of us. And rattling some cages just will not do. Will not do. So, as I said, the shift in reality, the shift to a higher level of consciousness is a shift in our thinking. How we perceive things and then how we feel about things, being good or bad. Again, back to the foundation that was there from the beginning in the book in Genesis. We know good and bad. That is the foundation of our divinity. First step, that is who we are. That's the definition of us. We know good and bad for ourselves. And a shift in what God is. It's not a being. And as I said, if it is a being, you cannot fulfill the two commandments. You are in the separation. You will feel like you have two masters. And you need to make a choice. And that is wrong. And here, if we go now in God, we have this male God, the Judeo-Christian God, that is a separate being out there. If you shift that now to Sophia, now we have a female God in the pleroma again, one being separated somewhere else. You have people touting the Creator as the supreme being that is somewhere else. Yeah. You're changing the image. That's all. You're not actually changing your fundamental perception, and that is what needs to shift for us to be in a different reality. So, as I said, I think we have a very long way ahead of us. And it will take a lot of work. And that is every one of us working on themselves. Even if you weren't in church or in the mosque or in the temple, even if you weren't that indoctrinated, those thinkings are in our societies, they are in our countries, they are in our laws, they are in societal norms that we go by. It's in all of us. And we need to get it. That's the works we must do on ourselves. Shift perception and then correct ourselves every time we unconsciously slip back into the old thinking, into the wrong thinking. The thinking that shifted our foundation. And because of that, the whole foundation of, all of the foundations of the earth are now out of course. I leave it at that for today. And I'll talk to you again soon. Bye.